Driver Studio Sessions.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the second tutorial. The first one got a lot of cool comments, so thanks for that. Really happy that you guys liked it. Today I'm gonna show you how to make techie kicks. What are techie kicks? Like music. So this is my track, Focus on Music. Stream it now. Techie kicks, they're usually a bit more experimental, fresh sounding, just a bit different. They usually have a really pretty heavy transient, so a lot of attack on the punch. And today I'm going to show you how I make a kick like that from scratch. We're going to start. I hope it all turns out pretty good. I'll do my best. So let's get started. We're going to start with the punch. Now for the punch, I usually use a plugin called Kick 2. It's by Sonic Academy. A really, really cool plugin. It's also cool for snares, 808 kicks, dubstep kicks. You can make a lot of cool stuff with this one. So what we're going to aim for is like a pretty heavy attack, pretty techy, so like really a fresh sounding attack. This is like the stock sound that it comes with. Now I already hear like this is a bit too low, so I'm going to go into the pitch page. And I'm gonna play around with this. It's not like a step-by-step process. It's also just listening and adjusting, and you gotta know what you're looking for. And by watching this tutorial, I think you will get a lot better understanding of what's the process that goes into this kind of kick. So here we go. I usually just play on my keyboard. I find that always the most easy way. So now you can hear it gets a little bit more of an aggressive. So now this is a bit more what I want. So I'm going to EQ this a little bit. Usually you don't want to have low end like 60 hertz in the punch. I usually want to have the low end flowing in a bit. And now I hear there is like a bit of an annoying tone. We don't want that. As you can hear, the punch is missing some sharp click at the beginning, but I'll add that later. That's really easy to do. For example, like that. And this is like the area like 100 to 200 hertz where you want to have that oomph feeling in the stomach when you hear it at a party. Sometimes I'll do this right away in the plugin, or usually when I'm in a further process of making the kick, and I'll just add this little layer that I always use. But I'll also can show you how to make a layer like that. I call it like a little push in the punch, so it's usually easier to add that after. But for now, I think this is a pretty good start. And like this is just the beginning of the kick. From there, we can layer the necessary things. So the thing with kicks, not only techie kicks, but any hardstyle kick, is it's really a process of listening and determining what it needs. So you can never write a book on making a hardstyle kick. There are no like standard steps. There are some things in the process that you can explain, but you still have to hear what it lacks or what it needs to have more of. And you can only get that experience by doing it a lot of times. I'm making kicks for 10 years now, I think. Maybe a bit longer, but I don't think you can call the first things I made, you cannot call them kicks, I think. More like fart noises with a punch. So the only way to learn this is by doing it, and it's really up to you to determine the next step. Like if I'm in a bit, I'll start with distortions and stuff, then it's really up to me to know like, oh yeah, if I push the low end a bit more before the distortion, it will have that reaction. So it's really a matter of adjusting, tweaking, trying out stuff. Oh no, this doesn't work. Let's go back. It's really just a trial and error process. So we have a punch. Right now, I'll usually just make a little tail and then I'll set up the groups. And then from there, we can just start playing around, because it's also regarding distortions, it's pretty random. Like, you're just going to search for frequencies. There's not like a standard way of, oh, if I put the peak there, then I will get that kind of distortion. So that's just finding the right spots. So I usually use Serum for this. That's like my most used plugin for anything. And they have this analog BD sinus tone, which is like a bit of a 909 kind of vibe. I turn off the random. That means that the waveform will trigger from the same spot every time. Because if you have distortions and everything after it, then you don't want to have this changing, or at least I don't want that. I want to have, like, every time I hit the note, that I will get the same phase of the waveform. So we're gonna make this kick on a G. And a cool way to get like this typical crunch is to just get a sinus or a sine wave. Add some white noise and then just add a distortion. And then you already get like the typical fart bass sound. You might recognize this from the kick from The Realist, that trap kick. I also did this trick. Alright, so I'll just add a little note on the G. And then we're gonna start adding the most awesome plugin that I use, and that's Shaperbox. I use this a lot for sidechaining effects, getting rhythm in certain sounds. Shaperbox, now I used Volume Shaper 4 a lot, or I used 3, then 4, and now Shaperbox 2. And it has a lot more functions. I think I know about 5% of this whole plugin because I just got it, and there's still a lot to discover. So what I'll do is I'll just fade in the volume, basically, of this tail. So that's, for now, is all I'm doing. And I'm also going to add one here, because that's like OCD. I want to know that this punch is not like bleeding out too much. Alright, so now I'll add this to a punch group, and I'll add the tail to a tail group, and then I'll add these two to kick total, and then usually like when I'm working on it, then I'll probably add some little subgroups in between. So now what I'll do is I'll make another layer, just a little crunchy layer. Again, I will take the sinus. Is it sinus or sine? Sine wave. Sinus is like what's in your nose. Okay. So, let's do a little, like make it actually sound like a kick. So what I'll do is I'll just make like a little envelope. Re-trigger this. And I'll just add this MIDI. Okay, let's start doing some distortion. I'll use Trash for now, because I think a lot of people have that one. Isotope Trash, distortion. I'm already apologizing for the volume, because that will be a bit of a thing with kicks. When I'll start distorting this, then it'll probably get loud. basic theory is if you put like a big peak in the middle and then you start searching around the low end, then you'll usually trigger the distortion and you will get like a crunch. And from now it's just, I'm just searching pretty random spots so I can get like a fat crunch. For me, it's also like the first time I'm doing this live, so I just gotta make sure that I explain it a bit in a good way. Like the cool thing with Shaper Box is you can use it as a multiband, so I can, this envelope, I can set it to a certain frequency range. So now I'm just gonna put it like from like the top of the frequency range, so 20k till like I'll put it like below the mid frequency, so around 300-400. Like, so it's basically filtering the kick at the end, and that way I can make the distortion react differently. So because I put it in front of the distortion, I usually get a cool result. So I'm just gonna try this. I might just add another one here. Then I have a bit more control. As you can see, I could also turn this into like a raw kick, but we're gonna make a techie kick. So what I'm gonna do is fade this in. I really want to only have like that techie sound. I'll remove the low end on this. If you hold Command and then you scroll, you can change like the steepness of the cut. And as you can see, I'm doing this all pretty fast because I'll have to adjust it anyway. And then I'll listen to how it sounds. I will send this to the tail group. Okay. And I'm gonna mix this in. And I usually want to have a little bit of I want to have a drive in this kick. And like as you can see, I'm like probably plus 75 dB in the red, but we're distorting stuff, so don't worry about that. This is what you want. Nothing happening. So now I'll And now you might think, oh, the beginning is pretty empty sounding, but I'll probably add like a little peep punch, and that will fill that up. And then I will also add like a little reverb. And when we get to the next group, the next step, I will clip everything together in one group. So I'll just do that right away to keep it interesting, because as you can expect, then this process will not be that fast in real life. I will just really get surgical and like trying to find every perfect frequency and stuff. For now, same with the last tutorial, I'll just do this showing you the steps. What I usually do on the total group, so this is the group with tail and the punch group into another group. So this is the group where I will like merge everything together. So I'll add a reverb and then another trash. And with this trash, I will just raise this. For now, that's all I will do. I will just make sure that when I'm start pushing the levels, then this will act like it will glue everything together. A little reverb. I always use this one, PM Digital Verb. I remove the low end. And for now, you will be like, yeah, this is not doing a lot, but in the total scheme of things, it's gonna like blend everything together. But just to show you, it's a pretty basic verb, but yeah, I've been using this one for years, and for kicks, it's really nice. It's just adding that little air on top, and that's what I want. What I'll also do is I'll add an LFO tool that I use as an analyzer. Now I'm gonna like work a bit more on the tail, and what I'll do is another shaper box in the beginning, just because I really want to have that spot where the punch is hitting. I really want to have that totally clean. That's a bit like OCD. I want to make sure that this part is silent and that there is a room for the punch. Now I'll just distort this even more. Maybe with another inflator that's a bit more subtle. And now I hear like a little beep in the, like a resonance. Bring some more movement in this. Okay, now I'm just gonna go trash this a bit more. Is like it's just moving the starting point of this waveform, and what that will do is, because this whole chain is behind it, and then it's going to the group, get distorted, and then it's going to another group, get again distorted. That's changing the whole way the kick is like phasing, and that will also trigger the distortions differently. So just by changing this little phase button, or if you would like change the waveform, but that's usually a bit too extreme, you can just trigger the distortion in a totally different way. And another thing I will also try in a bit is adding another waveform, just see what happens. I will just play around a bit more with this. This is pretty cool. I usually like when I like this, then I'll usually just stop touching it, because then I'll usually add something to it instead of changing it completely. As you can see, I'm just using the same one again. Find the Reverze bass feeling a bit too much. We can even use this filter here. I noticed that gave a pretty cool sound, so I'll try to with some imagination, and if we put this to 200 BPM, we can also make this like a crazy up-tempo kick or something. Yeah, that's definitely not my genre. Let's not try that. All right, let's go back. Alright, that's a cool start, I think. Waveform looks pretty fat as well. Totally unnecessary, but that's like the nerd stuff. I'm gonna see what happens if we add like a standard clip is one I also use a lot. Just a clipper. go back in here and play around with this phase a bit more. This reverb a bit louder. Another shaper box. As you can see, I use this a lot just to get some more room in here. Okay, this is like a start. What I'll do now is I will make a little, like a little beat. Kick 2. Okay. Again, same process. That's literally all I want. Damn, my typing is a bit too fast for my... I don't even know what I'm typing sometimes. Let's use a trash. Crank this boy to the roof. What I'll do is I will add this to the punch. Shape box, because I want to remove the transients. And then to this little beep, I will add like FX send. And then I made this chain, which is like the VPS impulse reverb. And what I usually do is I'll throw this on the complete kick. So on this send, it will receive the whole kick usually, and it will just let through the punch, then add a verb, and then fade in the verb. So this whole send is just like this typical verb that you usually use on a kick. But usually I will make my kicks without that verb in it, because then when you're pitching it, it usually gets like a bit nasty. So I'll usually just add this at the end when my kick is finished. And then I will just throw that send on top. And then the output of this send, so that reverb that I'm adding, I'm going to send that to the kick total group. With this distortion or with the kick 2, then that reverb it's like live on the plugin. So when this tone changes, then that verb will automatically also change. Yeah, on its own it sounds pretty ridiculous, but you know, in the end it's like all blending together, and then it will make sense. Gonna add a transient shaper on this one. What that does is it enhances the transient, makes it louder. And I always use this one from Kilohertz. It's just really easy and like less is more. Like, yeah, you can do this as extreme how you want it, of course. Some people really like the laser. Not really my thing, but you know, it's just a taste. I'll just add another Pro Q here and see what happens if I just distort this thing. Sometimes I'll also make like the whole kick, and then it's done. And then I'm like, yeah, I'll just cut off the punch and add another punch to it, because this is all like mushing together, and then it's usually a bit difficult to get it right from one chain, and there's nothing wrong with that. But usually, sometimes I'm lucky, and then I'll just get everything out of one chain, like how it is now. But I'll sometimes, if I think that's better, then I'll just cut off the punch, or I just add another layer of another kick on top. I'll also do that with this one. For now, I'm gonna play a bit more with this, because this gave me some pretty cool results. Just to try really quick, I will just grab a Techy kick punch that I made. Just to show you what I mean with, like, sometimes if you just add another punch on top. I will just render this, by the way. And then we're just gonna try and resample it. That means I'm just gonna like work a bit more, but then I'll just work with this waveform. So okay, let's put this on a new channel. And I'll just try it with this punch. As you can hear, that's already a lot better. Group that again, then I will just add like a standard clip again, just to make sure that this blends together nicely. And then I will just grab a kick. Okay, what I did is I just took this kick from Kick E-Live maybe collab. I think that's the kick from Other Side, from my album No Sleep. I think this is at a G, okay. And then I'll just take a complete finished kick. Pretty old one, but I want to have like a crunchy kick. And I'll just add this on top, and I'll just start playing around with it. I'll just fade this in, lower the volume, send this to whoop. Just to show you like what happens when you just try something random. And I'll usually always go on this offset thing, and then I'll just scroll, and then you can scroll it like super precise, and then you're just moving the waveform. But of course you will need you need some kick that is finished. But for this process you could use a sampled kick, or like from a sample pack, or if you have one of your own, even better. Pretty okay, I think. I still hear like a little beat in this one. Still have to get that out. Okay. Okay, I think that's a pretty cool, like, again, like same with the melody, just showing you the steps of how I would do this. Another thing I usually do is I'll just make a weird sound. I'll just take a random something. This, and then I will record this on a channel, and then I will make a verb out of this, and I'm just going to add this to my kick. Again, sending this to that group, fading it in. Maybe down 12. Okay. Another thing, what I will do is I will just take a clap and see noise control. Cool. I'll make this mono, stereo flip. Okay. And I will just try to get like make this also like into a beep, just to show you that there is really no rules. Just gonna see what I'm not even sure if this is gonna work, but I'll just do like my mega extreme. Okay, cool. Shaper box. So you can see, you can even make like a little beep. For now, I'll just do it real quick like this. Shape box on top, fade in. And we're gonna send this to that group again, and then see. kicks into it like this. You can even make a normal punch out of this, but that's not the job today. Okay, one more thing I will do is I'll put another shaper box here, and I'm just gonna shape the kick a bit better because it's a bit heavy. Another trick I usually do to watch the low end like live, I'll just put a send on the whole kick, put a EQ, a high cut, so it only lets through the low end, LFO tool, and then I'll just turn off the output. And that way I can see that the low end is pretty good. I might even just add another layer. That one. This is a F. These are really old kicks. I think they're like 4 years old. Even older. That sounds like a G. I always check that with the Very audio. Okay. Same process, low cut. As you can see, I'm pretty all over the place usually when I'm working. Like I'll start with a serum and then I'll export that, then I'll just add some random stuff. And that's a bit the message that I want to show you guys is like sometimes you just need to try stuff, and like usually you will get like a random thing that I don't even know how this will react together, but because it's all grouped and like these waveforms are like phasing in a certain way, then you can get a cool result. pretty okay. Again, if you see how this was made, it's a clap. A noise controller's clap. Yeah. No rules. I think this is pretty cool. Another thing to like end this whole thing is I'll bounce this. I'll take a nimble. Let's call this kick tutorial. Then I'll just go into the pool, and then there it is, and I'll just drag it into the nimble. And then we have the kick in the nimble. Yeah, now I'm using like Ableton and Cubase shortcuts at the same time. Alright guys, that was the tutorial. I hope you learned something about making techie kicks and maybe kicks in general, because I think a lot of these tips are, you can use them and apply them in a lot of different types of kicks. So it's more about the process and like picking the right information and the right tricks and plugins and that kind of stuff. Sorry for the audio. With all these distortions, there is some noise going on and it was a bit difficult for me to fix that. But anyway, I think it's still doable. Right now we're going to have a listen to some demos. I did a review of 3 tracks this time. Really cool ones. Definitely check that out and make sure you send in your demos for the next episode. I'll put the email address on the screen. Send in your demos. I will do an honest review, give you some feedback and maybe some tips. And for now, enjoy the demo drop.
Hard Driver Studio Sessions.
So, next demo from Sacred Mind Imagination. He only put a linear multi-band. Probably means that he just cranked up the volume for the demo. Let's check it out.
They used to tell me stories of a place beyond this world.
Oof.
And of this place I'd dream. My imagination unfurled.
Cool.
Imagination.
Oh, nice.
imagination unfurled.
So I believe this is the same vocal than Noise Controllers, Faster and Further, like a space documentary style. But he processed the vocal a little bit, sounds like he pitched it, which makes it sound different. So that's a cool thing that he didn't just use it how it was. I like the kicks. So it's a bit like a Psy kick, but a little bit fresher. It sounds like he also chopped up a reverb, or there's like a reverb in the tail that's like, which gives also a really cool, cool feeling. So introduce like a little high thing on the kick, always works. So a thing I would look at in the mix down is maybe the reverbs and where the kick is in the mix, because the kick sounds a bit more to the back, and I think, as far as I can hear, that's more a reverb thing. So there is a lot of reverb floating around in the mix, which makes it is masking the kick a little bit. So I would make sure it's a bit more dry maybe, so the kick has more room, and that will also give it more impact, because yeah, I would just make sure the kick is a little bit out of more to the front, which will give more energy and make the mix a bit more clear, I think.
They used to tell me stories of a place beyond this world.
Vocal also has a lot of 300 hertz, like the humming tone. Take that out, so maybe cut a little bit more of the low end on the vocal.
Of a place beyond this world.
And some subtle delay would also be nice, I think.
And of this place I dream, my imagination unfurled.
Okay, what I like about this melody is it clearly has the question answer thing. So this is the question. That would be the answer. And what I was trying to show you in the little tutorial I did is he didn't use the standard chords that you would expect here. So it turns out it becomes really dark towards the ending of that bar, which is cool. And that's what I was trying to say with, like, you have a bass and then from there you can try and find a different feeling or make it more dark or more uplifting. And that's really cool because I didn't expect this feeling. So really cool, fits with the whole mysterious vibe of the vocal. Curious how this ends. So here I would do, because this is the first bar. Then you get your answer, and then I would change this one. So I'm not a singer, but I would go up there to make like a little extra edge to it. So that's what I would do. So I like the drop. A big thing that I would have an extra look at is the build-up, because here I was already like, so if you imagine if you're playing it at a party, then this is the hands up part where people are like, oh my god, it's the best thing I ever heard. They're like listening to this. And then here you're already like taking out the energy. So I always try to do that myself if I'm making something like. So this is the moment for the people. So you as the DJ, Sacred Mind, you're at the stage. And then here you should think about what are you doing at this point. And you're like, and you're just standing like there's no, yeah, there is a little filtered kick and stuff, but that doesn't give people the energy to like, oh man, the drop is coming, you know? So what I would do is introduce immediately more energy here, like a fat snare or a kick, and already start building it from there. Because now, like from this part, you hear the sweep coming up and the screech and the crashes. But I think it needs a lot more. And since you have those cool chords in the melody, I would make like a crescendo. That's like a musical thing, like a that's like building towards a climax with your chords. I would definitely do that because that will really make this more epic, and then you have a lot more impact on the climax. This is cool, but if you make the build up a little bit better, then it will have. Then this will be like delivered a lot better, and it will reach the people in a better way. It will have more impact. Let's just check this last part. Okay, so there is a little switch in the melody. Okay, and then this is the like a repetition of the mid. Now, especially with this track, I would look at that last part to make that also a bit more special. Otherwise, like DJs will already mix this track from this drop. They already do that a lot, so I would make sure that this part is also like original enough, and it's not, yeah, you did like a little switch, but in general, it's pretty much a repetition of what was before. If it's a track with a bit more mysterious vibe, I expected like a really hard climax, you know? It's a bit wrong. So I would maybe do that, make a cool anti-climax or you know, something like that. Will have a lot more power, and I think that will really work with this track overall. So good track, but some points that can be better, I think. I hope you learn something or can do something with the feedback. On to the next one. Again, we have Yuta Imai, Supersonic. Let's check it out. Okay, cool. I like the kick. It has an original sound, a bit like a saw wave in the tail kind of vibe. And a cool drive. I also really like... It's the same as in his previous track in Arcade. He also used these little... and this sounds like the... Oh, it's fresh. That sample. And it's like a little scratch. Really cool, really creative. I like how he chopped all the... So it's like he chopped out all the reverb. So Yuta Imai has an eye for detail. Really cool. And this is a really cool machine screech. Like that first one. Really dope. Oh, nice. So first thing I'm gonna say is I really like this little build-up. He's already introducing that reversed sweep. And I really like how he transitions into that build-up by like repeating the tail or stretching it. Now this kick is really cool, but I hear some 200 hertz in the kick. That's, whoa, what did I do? That's too much. Yeah, you hear this. So it's like 150, 160. This tone, this is too much, so I would take that out. But other than that, the vibe is really cool. I like the flow, the drive is really good. So really good job. Excited for the break. A little bit jazzy. Now, I like the melody. It's not as good as the other track, I think. But what I would do is I can't really hear very clear if there are already like chords in the back. But I would introduce chords and maybe a low saw with a sidechain that's like on the triplet, like na 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 na, to fill it up because it's a bit empty, I think. And maybe like a little arp or a something like that to make it a bit more full. I do like the, it's not really my taste, but I do like all the different feelings that he puts in the melody. So he went like full out with all the switches and everything. That's really cool. But I would maybe make it a bit more full with chords or a low saw, just a little detuned saw, like on a low octave, like a bass line, but without the sub. That's what I always do. Let's check this last part. Yeah. Okay. All right, that's a cool extra part with like a little, like a bit crusher vowel kind of sound. Really dope. Yeah, I would look at this part and then definitely look at the kick because the kick is cool, but has too much 140, 150 hertz. Last track, Audio Fighters. I believe they are from Belgium. That's where I also live. Audio Fighters, It Ain't Right. I hope that's not about the track, the title. So let's check it out. Cool. Now the vocal is, this sounds cool by the way, I really like this. The vocal sounds really wide, a bit too wide, so I don't know if that's already in the sample, but I would always keep one vocal like dead mono and then add the layers on the side softly, because I was just testing it. If I hit the mono button, then the volume of the vocal like disappears, and a lot of people still have like crappy phones and stuff, and they hear only mono, and then you don't want to have your vocal be like all the way in the back. So plus mixing wise, I think vocal could be a little bit louder and a bit more in the front. So also maybe some more 5K. That's like the harsh tone in the vocal, which is missing a little bit. Like harsh doesn't sound like a positive thing, but I mean, this one could use a little bit more 5K so it stands out a bit more. Okay. Now here I would introduce like some change so it stays a bit more, yeah, like this is basically the same as this part. So I would introduce something new here. Just a little sound could be like a, just a little sound or a little, like a little, I always call it a bubbling, like a with the punch. That you can also do. And I forgot to say this part. I would make that a bit more exciting. It's a bit like the snare is not sure of himself, if you know what I mean. He should be like bam, the drop is coming. You know, it should be a fat fill before the drop. So. Okay, cool. Yeah, I would definitely introduce some extra sounds here, and maybe an important thing. This part is pretty long for the standard. I hate to say that, but people will stop dancing at this part, and then here is like a little extra build-up, so you expect something really crazy coming. The only thing that's changing is the kick, but the screech, that sounds the same. Do something completely different with the sound, maybe like something crazy to keep that part interesting. I would definitely make it a bit shorter. So I would say, so this is 4 times 8 bars. And I always usually do 2 times 8. I think most tracks have that. That's definitely not a rule, or that's for everyone to decide. But I would do 3 times maximum. But then again, if you do it like this and you're not changing the sound here, then I would just say make this part shorter. Because it will not stay interesting enough for people to listen, and they will be like, yeah, okay, now I know it, you know, time for the break. So that's how people think, how people consume music. So that's my opinion on that. Let's check out the break. So, of course, what I said before about the vocal, that's the same problem at this part. Vocal can stand out a bit more, and the chords are, they are okay, but okay is not very super positive. So, I mean, they are okay, but I think they can be better. So they are repeating, if I'm correct, they repeat the 4 bars every time. So I would also try to find a little bit of a different feeling to it, or switch something up so it stays interesting. Because it's a lot of, I think, a bit too much repetition on the chords. Okay, I like the melody. But again, yeah, this is a bit an overall thing. I would try to find a bit more feeling. There are chords in the back, but I don't think they are like, for example, how I did it in the tutorial, like a full chord under every note. I don't think that's the case, or they are a bit soft maybe. But I think that the top lead is really cool and really catchy, and it has a cool feeling. But they need more like body with chords under it to make it bigger. And then here there's like a little kick, but for the rest there is not really something else that's being introduced. So what I would maybe do is, maybe you can use this vocal or the like a saxophone. I think it's a saxophone. Maybe introduce those elements over the drop. That will make it a more of a whole on a that will glue everything more together. Yeah, again, you need to make sure it stays interesting for the listener. You really got to think, oh, I have these 8 bars. So your melody is your melody. That's 8 bars. And then you get the next 8 bars, and then you got to think, oh, is this interesting enough? Is this adding something? Why am I adding this? What am I changing? You need to think like totally different. The Ed Sheeran song, why is that so good? Because it's, first of all, it's simple. It stays really catchy, and there is like a new element being introduced. Like in pop music, that element can be like a little guitar riff, but there is something being added which keeps it interesting to listen to. And without knowing it, your listeners, they hear a new sound, and that sound makes sure they like, what am I trying to say? Like, they notice it, but they also don't notice it directly. So make sure you check out this part. As far as I hear, like as a objective listener, I only hear that there is a little house kick being added, and I think that's not enough. So think about, should I add, why am I doing this? Is it adding something to the track? If it's not, then I would just leave it out and then go straight to the build-up, because people want to hear that drop. So if you're adding something, make sure it's like worth adding. Okay, so I like this drop. I like that kick. So it's the same kick as the mid intro, but that's fine. I would overall, this is a good track, I think, but it's a bit too safe. Again, it's like everything is correct. The kick's good, the lead is nice. There's a nice vocal, the chords are cool. Challenge yourself a bit more to like, this is a cool track, but it's not like, wow, I'm gonna listen to that 5 times, if you know what I mean. Like, it's cool, but it needs a bit more X factor to really stand out, I think. Yeah, that's the biggest remark, I think, overall. Okay, here's a cool switch. I like that this is from the same country as where I pay my taxes. So, cool track, but overall, in a lot of cases, it's usually better to just take something out and just make it a bit shorter and then go straight to like the key point of the track. And that was the last demo for this episode. Make sure you send in your demos for the next episode. The link is in the bottom of the screen. To all the guys that sent in their demos, I hope this feedback was useful. Leave your comments below. I will check them out. I hope this was useful, and I'll see you guys next time in the next video. Peace.
Hard Driver Studio Sessions.